Almost all of us have heard of tarot, but not many of us know the full extent of its purpose. Today, we'll be talking about that and even hear how a modern pagan uses tarot to communicate with their deities. Tarot cards have a rich history, going back all the way to the mid-1400s in France and Italy. Tarot began simply as playing cards with four main suits. The original suits of staves or wands, discs or coins, cups, and swords can still be seen in tarot today. As the popularity of these cards grew, artists began to paint and add additional cards to the deck. Many noble families commissioned a custom painted deck from artists that often featured family members on the triumphing cards. These decks were scarce at the time due to the funds needed to purchase a painted deck. Once the printing press came along, these decks could be mass-produced. As the popularity of tarot cards grew in the 16th and 17th century, the practice of divination became a more common use for the deck, and the cards began to assume specific meaning. The occult is a general term for supernatural, mystical, and magical practices. This quickly became the category that tarot fell under. And, as divination became a more common practice with tarot cards, many occultists began to create guidebooks to teach the divinatory meanings of the cards. These mystical ideas and practices became a pastime for many upper-class families. But as time went on, tarot and the occult formed a much graver image. You may not think you know a lot about tarot, but you've definitely seen a lot of it in Hollywood movies, and how we got to this perception of tarot is quite interesting. As the world became more strict in their religious practice, occultism became synonymous with evil. As a result, tarot was considered to be an evil practice. This started the dark perception of tarot in the media that we see today. One of the best-known examples of tarot in media is in the film Princess and the Frog. In the film, the main villain, Dr. Facilier, offers Prince Naveen a tarot reading. Facilier flips the cards to reveal extreme specifics of Prince Naveen's life. After this reading, Naveen is turned into a frog. This scene highlights the great misunderstanding of tarot in media. The messages of tarot are not exact and are up to the interpretation of the reader. Not only is the reading inaccurate, but the idea that only the villain interacts with the tarot leaves the audience with an evil perception towards tarot. But despite the misconception of tarot in media, tarot still persists in the world today, and tarot decks continue to be altered. A multitude of tarot decks have emerged in modern time. Nowadays, decks can be themed after almost everything. From tattoos to Nightmare Before Christmas, and even feminist figures, there's a tarot deck for everyone. What stay the same are the cards in the deck and their meanings. Most modern decks are based off the Rider-Waite deck that was published in 1909. This deck features 78 cards, including the standard amount of suits that you'd see in a playing card deck, as well as the major arcana. From the Rider-Waite deck, artists have found inspiration for their own art that they include in their deck. The four main suits remain the same. Each of these suits have specific meanings when seen in a reading. The suit of cups is associated with the element of water. When seen in a reading, the message is expected to relate to relationships and emotions. This suit will guide in interactions with others. The suit of swords is associated with the element of air. It gives guidance on conflicts, both physical and moral. The suit of pentacles, or coins, is related to the element of earth. This suit speaks on matters of security, stability, and wealth. In a reading, pentacles will guide the subject on decisions of job security, educational growth, and finances. The last suit is wands, which is connected with the element of fire. Wands represent intuition, wit, and thought. This suit often relates to creativity, communication, and physical activity. Each number in these suits holds its own message for readers. This allows for each reading to be personalized. The term pagan is a general term for polytheistic or ethnic religions. Modernly, this does not include religions like Buddhism and Shinto that are also polytheistic. Instead, it's used to describe Greek, Roman, Norse, and alike religions that observe a pantheon of gods. To describe that a little more, and how tarot is involved in religious communication, we have the pleasure to hear from Haven Lomers, a practicing Greek pagan.
I worship ancient Greek gods. It's called Hellenist paganism. It's just a branch of paganist witchcraft that follows Greek mythology. So I worship Apollo, the god of the sun, Hades, and Hermes. Apollo, I would say, is like my main deity that I follow often, that I think about often, that I work with often. And then I follow him because he's of the sun, of course, but also he's about truth, music, art, prophecy, health, all good things that I like want to invite into my life, and that I've always worked with very easily. Hades, I've always had like a fascination with death as well, as a nice contradictory. And he's a very grounded, wealthy deity to work with as well, so that's always nice. And then Hermes is a very good communicator. He's a very good messenger, and he's very like in myth a lot. He's very on the like earthly plane, I guess, and that's always a very easy communication, and it also like promotes that communication between me and my deities that I very much enjoy. So the way that I use tarot, there's a multitude of ways to use tarot, or to use a bunch of different divination tools to talk to deities. I like to light a candle for my deities and invite them into my readings to give me guidance, to give me something that I need to hear, no matter how much I don't want to hear it sometimes. And I leave them an offering, and I read cards just the way that like they're most classically read, with whatever spreads and preset like questions I have. And I just take whatever I'm given. Like that's another thing of working with tarot, is even when messages that you're not sure relate somehow, or like you're not sure how to interpret, or if you just don't want to hear them because they're too harsh of a reality at sometimes, it's still something that you like have to take in, because that's half of the battle you face with tarot, that whatever you're given you have to accept. What do I have to say about people's perception of tarot? There is a very polar two sides of a spectrum, and people don't often fall in between it unless they practice or use tarot themselves in any certain way. So now that I go to art school, I have a lot more of people that have a tarot deck. They think it's super cute, super fun, but they have no idea what it is. They like thought it was playing cards or stuff like that. It's an aesthetic to a lot of people that don't use it as a spiritual tool, and yeah, they're like, oh, it's a cool skill, I guess, but not useful. I would never use it. And then there's also the complete opposite end of the spectrum that's more along the lines of like devil worship, like Satanists, and like against the Christian church, against any like monotheistic church, I think, monotheistic religion. And so there's very like two opposite jarring ideas of, and that's usually only if people know of tarot. If people don't know of tarot, they usually don't really care. And that's also definitely perpetuated by like modern media, where in TV shows like Sabrina and stuff like that, you see like tarot is like this scary, like dark magical thing that is used to harm people, when in fact you're just like talking with pretty pictures and cards in your own brain. It's just a very fun placebo.
Now that we've heard from Haven, it's easy to see how tarot can be of great importance to many people in the world. So, next time you think about tarot, don't think about the evil connotations that you're used to seeing. Instead, think of its importance for modern paganists.